Hello, Internet. This is Whispering Whim, bringing you another grocery haul today. There is plenty to look at, so I should just jump right in, I think. And first up, we have some tissues. These are Puffs brand with lotion included. It is allergy season. I guess every season can be allergy season, depending on what you're allergic to. But one of mine is grass pollen, and the grass is a bloomin'. It's really hot outside, so I think it's not completely gone to seed, but it's starting to do the thing. And there are some people who are, I'm not sure if they're actually upset or just talking loudly. I typically record these grocery hauls in the middle of the day, and right now I'm doing it in the evening, so we'll get some different noises at the very least. But one of the more standard noises is this rattle of a can here, or a bottle. It's like, is that a bottle? Canister? I don't know. It's made out of plastic, and I feel like cans are metal. That could be just an association. Well, regardless, this is some laundry booster. It's just a scent additive. The detergent that I use is in scent-free, eco-friendly, like thin sheet thing. And it works all right. It does its job. But every once in a while, I want something to smell more like fresh laundry. And when that's the case, I put in a scent booster. So, you know. Now, in a similar vein, although not quite the same, I have some washing soda. This is an old-timey thing that isn't used as much anymore, but my grocery store still keeps it in stock, so if somebody's out there buying it. It's on the box, it's advertised as a laundry booster first, or more boldly, like that's the bigger print, and then household cleaner on the top. And why I got this, I might try it in the laundry just to see, but I didn't buy it for laundry. A while ago, probably last year, I think, at this point, I had run out of dishwasher liquid. Dishwasher liquid. And at the time, I was like, I wonder if I have the ingredients to make a homemade detergent. And I looked it up online, and it was pretty simple. It had citric acid, borax, washing soda, and I think one other thing, which might have just been essential oils, like lemon-scented stuff. And I didn't actually have washing soda. I substituted for baking soda, which chemically is kind of similar. Soda's in the name of both. They have, like, I think one of them has one more bond than the other, and I'm not a chemistry person. I can't remember which way it goes. But baking soda is considered the less harsh of the two, which is why we put it in food instead of the dishwasher. But I made this homemade dishwashing detergent, and it actually worked really, really well. And I have wanted to make it again, but I used up everything I had in the household that was relevant to making this stuff. I had used up all my borax. I didn't use up all my baking powder, but I did use up all the citric acid I had. And those things, like citric acid and the washing soda, apparently are a little harder to replace than I thought they would be. In fact, the borax, which I think you can still get at Walmart, but I was not able to buy at my favorite grocery store, which is Winco. I say favorite, most budget friendly, let's put it that way. So I might have to just buy the borax and the citric acid online. I did find citric acid in the grocery store, but it was way too expensive. So anyways, let's go ahead and move on. We've got some good old cherries. It is cherry season where I live, and you got to eat them while you can, because, you know, when it's cherry season, there's cherries everywhere. And then it ends, and they're quite expensive out of season. So I am going to eat my fill while I can. And then we have some good old bananas, just two. I find that even though I want bananas and I buy bananas, I rarely get more than like 2.5 bananas into a bunch before I'm over it. 2 is probably the ideal number, because sometimes with 3 bananas, I don't go through all 3. Moving right along though, we have some very crinkly seaweed snacks. This is just the plain old sea salt flavor. They have plenty of like other flavors. There's like, I think there's a chili lime now, and then there's like a spicy one, and there's avocado oil, but I really just enjoy plain sea salt for my seaweed. So that's the way I like it, and fortunately for me, they still give or sell the plain kind. And then following that, we've got some mushrooms. I'm gonna make some meatballs here this week and make sort of a meatball mushroom gravy and put it over. I haven't decided quite yet whether I'm going to put it over mashed potatoes or Israeli couscous. There is some couscous somewhere in one of these bags. I got it just in case. It's fun to have around, but it is important to note that if it's labeled Israeli couscous, it's actually a pasta. It's like a pearl pasta rather than a whole grain. And, you know, if you're doing diet things, which I try to do, you really should get the other kind of couscous. I don't know what they call the other kind, the whole grain kind. And I don't. The texture is not as pleasant. And you know what? I'm just gonna have the pasta. Anyways, moving on. We have some panda snacks, just one. Add some variety to my guy's lunch. You know, I like to add fun things for him here and there. And then we have some crispy jalapeno bits. We're gonna try to eat some salads while the weather is warm, and it's super appropriate to eat lots of salads. And both my guy and I like these crispy jalapenos. They've got a little bit of heat, but I think it's more of like the crunch factor, right? Like a softer version of having a crouton, basically. And then following that, we have a bag. I set it aside. I actually purchased these over a week ago with my guy. There is a spice shop here in town, and they're kind of like a spice and tea shop. And I get to go like maybe twice a year, and I get really excited to go because everything is just, it's a little nicer quality than what you get at the grocery store, and way, way more variety. So out of that, I got some Turkish bay leaves, which, you know, I guess regular bay leaves would be just fine, but I got the Turkish kind. Some fenugreek leaves. It tastes a lot like celery, and I enjoy that that bitterness is sometimes useful if your sauce is too rich or too acidic. Sometimes adding a little bit of bitter is really actually helpful. And then this one, this Hawaiian coffee spice. It's like a lot of the same smells, flavors that you would get in like a gingerbread cookie. Let's see here, it has ginger, cinnamon, cardamom, and cloves. So yeah, exactly like a gingerbread cookie. But I guess a lot of people use this in a savory sense. And I basically got it for random trying. I don't have a plan for it yet. You know, I probably should have saved that money for something else, but it appealed to me while I was at the store, and I'll figure something out. Some way to use it. And then we have some habanero chilies that have been dried and crushed. This particular this particular shop has an olive oil line, and I think they've been condensing it down because I see fewer and fewer varieties in it. There used to be a habanero olive oil. It was great for adding to my guy's dinners to make his more spicy than mine, because my poor old Tum Tum, I like the taste of the spice. My tummy does not. But anyways, they did not have it anymore. Doesn't seem like they'll get it back. And I was like, well, I could infuse some oil with spiciness. So that's my plan for that. I'm going to try to make him his own habanero oil. And then we have bonique or bouquet garni. Yeah, bouquet garni. Anyways, that's a French term that I'm horribly butchering. But in a lot of soups, they take herbs and they'll tie them in a little bundle so that you can infuse the broth with that flavor and then pull out all the woody stems and other parts that are unsavory for actual eating. But this takes all the flavors that would be in one of those bundles and has turned it into a ground up mix. So this one has rosemary, basil, marjoram, savory, thyme, dillweed, oregano, tarragon, and sage. So that should be good. I don't have a specific plan for that. That's more of one of those things that will just, one of these days, I'll be making something vaguely Italian flavor and I'll be like, oh, this needs more oomph. And I'll pull that out. And then last from like the spice shop haul, so to speak, is this Ain't No Joke spinach artichoke dip mix. While I was at the store, I wasn't really thinking. I was just grabbing. I was like, anything I can get that's in budget. And I really enjoy spinach artichoke dip. So I just grabbed it without really thinking about it. And by the time I got home, I was like, wait a minute. Spinach artichoke dip. Isn't that like spinach, artichokes, and just a whole bunch of fat? There's not usually spices involved. So then I looked at the back of this, and the main ingredient is spinach, followed by roasted garlic, onion, tomato, rosemary, oregano, and black pepper. So maybe just a more flavorful dip. But then I looked further. And the directions for this recipe: 1 cup sour cream, 1 cup mayonnaise, 1 jar, and they specify 6.5 ounces, so that's one of those little jars, of artichoke hearts, a half a cup of Parmesan cheese, and 4 tablespoons, which is half of this bag apparently, of the seasoning. And I was like, wait a minute. So I pulled out an actual, classic recipe for artichoke dip. And, normally it has some cream cheese in there. And they basically took all of the fat that you would get from cream cheese and just added it to the sour cream and the mayonnaise. So, what my plan is I'm going to just make regular, from an actual recipe. Well, I guess this counts as a recipe, but from a more classic recipe, spinach artichoke dip. And then I'm going to add this on top and kind of taste test and see if the rosemary and pepper improves it. But, I don't think it actually needs that, but we're going to find out. I already have the spices. Why not? Right? Okay. We're going to move right along here. We've got some good old chili. This is just a backup meal for yours truly. My guy has been out quite a bit lately. So I've been eating more and more meals on my own. And it's been nice to have a break from the cooking, but sometimes when I don't have to cook, I get a little lost on what to do. And then I just snack all night. And then he'll come home and be like, "Did you eat real food?" And his definition of real food is a bit sus, but most of the time I can't, even within my definition, answer yes. So I think chili counts as real food, though. So there we go. And then to help with that chili, we've got some good old Tums. Definitely getting older with the tummy. It needs a little more babying than it used to, but that's all right. Next up, we've got some barbecue sauce. And not any barbecue sauce, mind you. This is Famous Dave's, which is a barbecue chain. There's one in town. I don't know how far they reach. But this is their Devil's Spit variety. Sinfully spicy, punched up peppery heat. That's what it says on the bottle there. According to my husband / my guy, this stuff is a bit spicy, but nothing to write home about. Occasionally I'll doctor it up by adding some pepper into his barbecue sauce because he's such a heat fiend. It's like, what else can you do? Just give him what he wants. And then following that, we have some Worcestershire sauce, and this is name brand. It's not the store brand. And so the funny story about that is that I have been kind of buying grocery store sushi. At the Winco, they actually have a pretty decent quality line, as long as you don't get any of the fried foods. And what I noticed within eating those is that they supply Kikkomans, which is the more widely known brand for soy sauce in at least my part of the world. And it is definitely better than the store brand. The first couple of times I had sushi and I'd used the store brand sauce, I was like, what is wrong with this today? What's wrong with it? Yeah, no, switch back to the little tiny packets that they sometimes give in the packages. I was like, oh, the soy sauce makes a big difference. So that's a long way to say I have been slowly waiting for both the soy sauce and my Worcestershire sauce to empty out, because I have store brand on both of those, so that I can start using the name brand stuff again. You know, I'm one of those people, if it tastes the same, I'll get the store brand. And I get the store brand quite often. But there are definitely cases where buying the item from the people who've been making it for 50 or whatever years, it makes a difference. So I'm excited. The Worcestershire sauce will go into some meatballs that I'll be making, some mushroom and meatballs. Yeah, I know that sounded really complex there. But I love that kind of thing inside a meatball or a meatloaf, because just that slight vinegar base elevates it. So anyways, we have some garbage disposal cleaners, which I guess I'm going to have to start using quite regularly or something. My guy and I have been living in this apartment for quite some time now, many years. And we're on the bottom floor, and we're the unit that's closest to the street and the sewer line. And so if anywhere in this particular building backs up, it affects us first. And I've been trying really hard to make sure we're not putting any food waste or grease or whatnot down the drain. And despite all of my best efforts, it's still backed up from the sewage center, which is really pleasant, right? And even the guys who were snaking it was like, oh, this is way far down the line. It's not like right here at your sink. But I figure if I keep the garbage disposal pristine, maybe I can prevent us from having to do this as often. It seems to be like slightly more than 1 year or less than 1 year. Yeah. Every time we have to get this done. So it's almost a year apart, but just a little less. We had it backed up on us this past week, and it got to the point where it actually backed up enough that without us adding water, right? We're not like just running the sink or running the faucet with the sink full. Without us doing anything, it overflowed, went onto the counter, down onto the ground, gray water. In a lot of places, I didn't want gray water, as if there's any good place. And so I had to spend, what was it, 2 days ago? Sanitizing the kitchen and trying to recover whatever I could from the stuff that was within the warpath of the sewer water, which is not pleasant, but, compared to last month's issues, meh, whatever. I got it all cleaned eventually, so life will go on. And speaking of going on, we have some good old chicken stock. That's great for many, many dishes. The main purpose of that is I'll be making some chile verde sauce here in the near future. And that's just to sauce it up better than plain water, right? And then in the same vein, we've got some beef broth. That's for that mushroom meatball type dish that I said is coming up. We got some diced tomatoes, which will pair with some Spanish rice at some point. I thought I was going to make that this week, but I was going to make it for more than just me and my guy. I was going to make it for some in-laws. And one of them's not feeling so well, and she has preemptively decided that she did not want to eat 3 days from now. And I'm like, okay then. If you're that confident that you're sick, I will just save the Spanish rice for another day, right? And then our next thing is some nacho cheese sauce. It's a garbage food, and I will not personally be eating it, but my guy does enjoy it once in a while, and I got myself a few fun things on this grocery trip, which were pinching pennies, so I shouldn't get myself too many fun things, but I had to get him something fun in return. I mean, he does get more fun things, I think, than I do per trip, but still. Nacho cheese is good. And then good old avocado oil. I think you guys by now know how I feel about that. And if you don't, stay tuned for next month. I'm sure I'll buy another bottle, and tell you all about it at that point. And then I have some good old toothpaste. This is the Arm & Hammer brand. Quite a while ago now, my hygienist told me to switch to a baking soda toothpaste because it's like softer on your enamel, I guess. And initially the switch was kind of annoying because the flavor's different. It just felt off. But now I'm kind of glad for it. I'm not sure it's really helping with the teeth thing, but it is helping with the budget thing. The old toothpaste that we used to get would be at Winco like $7, $8. And this stuff is like $4. So it's it's much more budget friendly. And then we have, if I don't spill everything, some Szechuan spicy sauce, which by my guy's standards is not spicy enough, but it it at least gets me a base to work off of, and then I can throw in all the other spices that I keep around the house to effectively bring it up to his tolerance. He would do really well in like a genuinely Chinese household where they're using Szechuan, like true Szechuan peppers, along with all the other peppery peppers. But I am not that. And he's fine with that. Okay. We have a big old box of snacks. This is for my guys' lunches. And there are Cheez-Its original flavor, Cheez-Its white cheddar, Pringles, and some Rice Krispie treats. So those will be some good lunch snacks here coming up in the next few weeks. Following that, we've got some top ramen, a nice backup guilty pleasure for yours truly. Some olives, nice little snack that I enjoy these days. And of course, every month, it seems, I get these. They are the random little spice packets that McCormick puts out. And this month's variety, I got the Griller's Choice, where you swap out the liquid and it changes the flavor profile a little bit. So garlic Asian, you would add soy sauce. Sweet and savory, you would add cola. And steakhouse, you would add Worcestershire sauce, which we've already got 2 of those things. We're not really soda drinkers in here, but sweet and savory is probably not necessary anyways. So that's one of the flavors. And then we got black garlic parmesan and zesty herb. Moving right along though, we have some pastaroni, and this is the angel hair pasta with herbs flavor. I usually don't bother with the cheese flavors because it's just easier to add cheese. Or maybe not easier, but more flavor impactful, more flavorful. There we go. That's probably a better way to say it. To just add some cheese to the pasta, either when you finish it or at the very end of cooking. You don't want to boil the cheese, of course, but my guy he's not a fan of when I use the box stuff because I'll make things from scratch all the time. And of course, from scratch is a little better, but, occasionally I like to save 30 minutes of my life by using a box. So we do a little bit of everything here in this household. Speaking of a little bit of everything, we have some Fritos, but these are chili cheese flavor. I thought a couple of months ago now, it might have been even more than half a year ago, that was like kind of a new, interesting flavor. And I brought them home, and my guy was like, no, I used to get those when I was a teenager. That was like my go-to chip when I had to buy them at the gas station. And I was like, really? I don't think I've ever heard of them before. But apparently they've been around for a while. They taste all right. Can't complain. And then this very loud bag is some penne pasta. I'll be doing a chicken penne broccoli in a cream/Gouda sauce. So that should be pretty fun. And then we have some corn tortillas for making tacos with. This is a different brand than I normally go for, but the one I use just wasn't there at the store. And I have noticed that a lot of grocery brands are kind of swapping out, or maybe they're going through a seasonal change or something. So like, this is different brand from what I usually get, but Hot Pockets. My guy really likes the Hot Ones variety, and they discontinued them. And now they're mostly discontinuing the little sleeve thing that makes it crispy in the microwave as well. So I don't know how many more Hot Pockets we'll get in the future, but that's super disappointing because he liked those. Well, anyway, we have some artichoke hearts. That will be for my spinach artichoke dip. Unlike the package recipe from the spice shop, I am not using a teeny tiny jar of artichoke for, what was that? That was like 4 cups of fat, because it was 2 of mayonnaise and 2 of sour cream, I think. I won't go find it. But anyways, it was a lot of fat with very little vegetable in it. And while I know that makes the most guilty pleasure kind of dip, since this is something I'm mostly going to eat all on my own, I need the vegetables in there. And artichoke heart is actually surprisingly decent. No fat, which will be counterbalanced by all the fat that's in the dip. But 5 grams of fiber for 15 grams of carbohydrate. So 1/3 of the carbohydrate is fiber. And then it also has 3 grams of protein. So that's not a terrible exchange, honestly. Could easily be worked into a well-balanced diet. And then we have some Better Than Bouillon chicken flavor. I ran out of this, and this is one of those things that even though I don't need it this week or this trip, it's better to just buy it exactly when it runs out, because otherwise in my brain it's like a staple. You just assume there's always some in the fridge, and it makes me very sad when there isn't some. So definitely one of those things. You just buy it when it runs out. And then here is that Israeli couscous, the pearl pasta. And I got lots of it. This is, goodness, over a pound's worth. It's quite a bit. So that'll be at least 2 meals, if not 3 for me and my guy. So that's all right. And, you know, got it from the bulk bin, so not too expensive. Next up, we have some Sour Patch Kids. This is the big kids, so they're larger pieces, and the share size, so don't eat it all in one go. But they're basically just a sour gummy candy. But out of all of the ones that are regularly available to me, I definitely think Sour Patch Kids are my favorite. You know, regular sour gummy worms are fine, but these ones, I don't know, they have more depth of flavor. I think it was last grocery haul I got the sour belts, you know, just those little strips. They weren't name brand, they were just out of the bin section. And they're okay. But they are like only sour. There's no fruit flavor or even the perception of sweetness. It's just, here's some acid. And I don't know. This wasn't, they're not our favorite, I have come to find, and we still have a couple left over, actually. That's how much we haven't enjoyed them. But we'll eat those up before we crack into the Sour Patch Kids. And then finishing off that bag, we have some good old Granny Smith apples, my guy's favorite fruit for lunches. And you know, it's funny, no matter how hard you look at a bag of apples, you get it home and that's when you start seeing the bruises. And I don't think I drove that rough. It's just the different lighting. So there's quite a few bruises on these, but hopefully nothing too bad. I won't be eating any of them. My guy will eat them all. You'll remember is a few years ago now, but I had braces, and my front teeth are still kind of, they're just not suited towards eating things like apples anymore, if they ever were. So it's just not a fruit I should eat, period, even if they weren't bruised. Which is a long way of saying I have a very good reason for not helping him with the bruised apples. Okay. But he won't eat nothing but apples. This is good old mango. They were only 50 cents at the store today, which normally would prompt me to buy more than one. But the last time I got mangoes, I bought 2 of them, and they went from not ripe to like gross. There was never like a truly ripe stage, and I was really bummed by that. So I only got 1 mango in case that happens again. And then here we have some tomatillos, and despite the name, they are not green tomatoes, but they are part of the same agricultural family, which is the same family as nightshades. And the reason why I bring this up is that technically, according to my GI doctor, I should avoid all nightshade veggies, which is tomatillos, actual tomatoes, potatoes, tobacco, eggplant, and goodness knows what else. And it's just, every time I find out that another thing is a nightshade plant, I'm like, what the heck? What the heck, man? I thought this was just, one plant that was poisonous, not a whole bunch of plants that are bad for my gut. But I got them anyways. I have made this salsa verde sauce before, and there's a lot of cooking involved, which kind of breaks down enzymes that are most problematic. So it didn't hurt me the last time that I ate them. So fingers crossed that it works out. Speaking of forbidden nightshade, I got some tomato and red pepper soup because it sounded so good. I haven't had it in a while, and there's a reason for that. Tomato is a nightshade, and I want to say most peppers, they're not a nightshade, but they're also off of what I'm supposed to be eating. Even non-spicy peppers are bad for me, apparently. But I'm going to eat this anyways, because I am so tired of all the restrictions. Especially because a lot of the restrictions don't encourage me to eat healthier. They actually limit some of the healthy things I could eat, and then I don't know. I have complaints about food lately that I'll just have to deal with. Okay. We have some baby dill pickles. I love pickles. Another thing that I'm supposed to avoid, and I'm not gonna. The cucumber part of the pickle is fine. It's the vinegar that they sit in that's not fine. In case you're keeping score at home. And I got to hang out with my sister this weekend. She lives a few states away, so it's very rare that we get to hang out. But she came down for a visit. And she's like, is this permanent? Because I was telling her all the things that I'm supposed to avoid. And I'm like, technically, no. My stomach can heal. It's supposed to heal if I mostly behave. And I really hope it does, because there's too many things I like to eat that are on that list. But moving right along, we've got some all-purpose flour. This is mostly used for making gravies, honestly, because I use different flour. I use bread flour for making bread, but somehow I go through quite a bit of regular flour in the course of doing whatever it is I do. So I had to buy a whole nother container of that. And then we're finally on to our last bag of the dry goods. There's still refrigerator stuff to come. And the first item out of here is some good old Captain Crunch. I was feeling nostalgic, and we've been kind of adding cereal back into like our weekend breakfast routine. Cereal, especially American cereal, not the healthiest in the world. Let's see here. Without any milk included, 2 grams of fat, that's not terrible, but 34 grams of carbohydrate, with less than 1 gram of that being fiber and 2 grams of protein. So yeah, this is not great. But, you know, for a weekend, we're gonna have, you know, not a nicer, but a prepared breakfast. It's okay. I usually will cook up some sausage or some bacon alongside whatever pastry thing my guy normally gets. And a lot of time I'll just make myself some veggies to eat with the sausage instead of a pastry. But when it comes to cereal, sometimes I indulge in that too. It's so nostalgic, right? And it's got to be at least a tiny bit better than like a regular donut, I hope. I haven't actually compared the nutrition facts side by side yet, intentionally. So, holding on to the hope that Captain Crunch is not as bad as a donut. But speaking of not so great for you, we've got some circus animal cookies. This is a item for my guys' lunches. They're individually wrapped, which sometimes I avoid, sometimes I don't. You know, I do things that are eco-friendly, and then sometimes I don't. And I'll feel guilty about it later, but it's really hard in today's society to be 100%, you know, above board on waste and all of that, but I try. For example, when the sink overflowed and we had sewage water everywhere, one of the things the sewage water touched was a bag of party supplies that admittedly had been left out for far too long, but we usually store party supplies like on the upper part of our cabinets, which is at least another 6 inches, if not a foot, taller than I can reach. So sometimes I don't move things up and down as quick as I could or should. But anyways, the sewage water contaminated a whole bunch of stuff, including this bag. And of course I threw out the napkins. There was no saving that, or the paper bowls. But there was a bunch of plastic cups in there. And I hand washed about 50 of these darn little plastic cups so that we can use them in the future and not immediately throw them in the trash. So, you know, some people might view that as me doing the bare minimum. Some people would be like, I ain't washing a bunch of plastic cups. I'm somewhere in the middle. I am morally gray on eco matters at this point. Following my morally gray cups, I have some little sausage sticks again. I went and got some of this brand, I don't know, it's like 2 or 3 months ago. And actually, I really enjoyed it. And then I had a show, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And I got some more sausage sticks. And I couldn't remember the brand name, so I grabbed ones that I thought were it. They were not. And they tasted like Jimmy Dean sausages, or not Jimmy Dean. Slim Jims, that's the name. And I was like, ew, I paid a whole lot of money for what tastes like garbage pork. Not happy about that, but I ate it all. And then I got the good kind again. So, yay me. Following that, there is some Spanish rice mix, which I thought I was going to be making this week, but I'll be making in a future date Moving on to our cooler stuff. We've got some poblano peppers. This is for that salsa verde, chicken verde dish that I'll be making here really soon. And then we have some good old-fashioned broccoli. That will be in our chicken penne later on this week. I got some good old prosciutto. The grocery store that I shop at recently changed brands. I don't like this one as much as the other brand. I want to say it was Della Luca. This one's okay, but not quite the same. I miss the other brand, but what can you do? And then we have some sour cream. That'll mostly be for our spinach artichoke dip. And we've got some sliced Gouda. This will be for a cream and cheese sauce that'll go on top of the chicken penne that I'll be making. And then some cream cheese, also for that spinach artichoke dip. Some ground beef, that'll be for the meatballs. Some good old-fashioned jalapeno flavored ranch, because you know this household. There needs to be at least one jalapeno thing in every grocery haul. It's like a rule. It's mandatory, okay? And then we've got some good old butter, salted butter in this case. I find that even when a recipe calls for unsalted butter, I typically reach for the salted kind anyways, which is not a good thing to do. There's certain recipes that are very sensitive to the amount of salt, but I'm a bit of a salt fiend and typically don't mind when it's too salty, so right? But not too salty, at least for most people, is some good old cheese sticks. This is processed mozzarella cheese, and one of the most favored items in my guy's lunches. And he's been not having string cheese for almost a week straight now, so he'll be glad to see that that's in there when I finally make his lunch tonight. And then we have some good old carrots. Getting carrots unpeeled like this is cheaper, and they last a lot longer in the fridge, right? But there are days when I need carrot, and I'm just so sad that I have to peel and cut it. Because, baby carrots, you huck them in a stew, you huck them in a lunch, it's all good. These bad boys require a little bit of effort. But moving on, we've got some chicken thighs. That's what we're going to use for our chicken verde or pollo verde coming up. The thighs are a little more richer than breast meat, and that type of sauce, because it's a bit acidic from the tomatillos, the acidity pairs well, I think, with the darker meat. And we've got some 2% milk. It kills me just a tiny bit every time I buy 2%. I grew up being quite the whole milk fanatic. Whole milk just has more in it. It's got more cream. But I have been advised to cut back on my fat intake, and I switched to 2%, which is okay, but it makes me sad. And then finishing out that bag is some good old half and half for my guy's coffee. I could pull out freezer stuff, but I'm not gonna, which kind of is my normal MO. It's past 9 o'clock now at night, and I'm ready to wrap this whole thing up. But if you're curious, the items in the freezer would include some popcorn chicken, some frozen spinach, another frozen vegetable mix, and some ice cream bars. So that's what's in the freezer that I bought this week and have not actively shown you. And with that, it is shout out time. Yay! Lots and lots of people talking to me, making comments. You guys know I love that so much. Lots of regulars, a few new names, and we'll just see how many I can shout out at once before I decide it's time to move on. We've got Max, Lacey, Silicrotics, Jgrum, Tina Sauce Merch Chanel, probably Chanel. Tina Sauce Mr. Chanel. That's an interesting name. Okay, Strawberry Peach, Dulce Crystal, Wicca Banks, Allison Hamblin, Charlene, and OGSS. And I think that's where I'm going to end it. You guys know that I live for the comments, even though I don't always respond to them right away. But without knowing, if I thought that no one was watching these, I would stop doing them because, my poor groceries have to go through so much to get through a video, and so do I. Although, at least I'm a what's the word? A willing victim, so to speak. With that, thank you guys so much for listening and waiting around for me for another month, and I'll talk to you soon, okay? Nighty night.